Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. It's a great pleasure being here. I know that we are at the end of the event. Everybody wants to go home to enjoy Brazilian Valentine's Day, but I promise that it will be a very nice presentation and we will have enough time to show you all. And we're going to talk about digital innovation and BNDES and innovation with the connection with startups. But before, let me talk about who I am. I'm Vanessa Almeida. I'm 21. I've been in BNDES for 21 years. I was very young when I started there, right after university, and I'm very aligned with innovation. I'm a nerd. I spent all my life in technology projects, but the most important thing for this presentation is that I'm an intra-entrepreneur. I like to create things. Please call me to create things, not to create an area, not to end one. And before going into the subject, I would like to talk about BNDES. I believe most of you know what it is. It's a National Economic and Social Development Bank. And the relationship of the bank with the subject of innovation, the bank has financing innovation in the country. We try to leverage innovation in our country. It's part of our agenda. And I have 4 examples, but they are not exclusive or unique. One of the ways that the bank supports innovations directly and indirectly, and one of them is the project More Innovation, financing industry, technological awareness and spread, creation of new plants in Brazil, and we have been very successful with this line of projects. We also invest in innovation through variable income, and an example is the Criatech Funds, which is an investment fund for small companies with technological bases, where they structure the fund and supports resources with other partners. We've invested more than $500 million in Criatechs and dozens of companies that have been supported by this fund. And then we took a step back in the chain, and we support a little bit of larger companies as well, but we decided to support even smaller companies for creation tech. We created an angel fund of investment supported by the bank and managed by a private manager, where we have resources to very small starting companies. And here we have an example of BNDES Garage, which is a project to accelerate startup with equity free. And we have startups of impact. In the current run, we accelerated 600 startups. These are a few examples how BNDES supports innovation in the country and places us one of the biggest investors of innovation in the country. However, what we say is not what we do. So we look at innovation outside, but we need to look at innovation inside our bank. And we will talk about the corporate innovation and what we've been trying to do over the last few years to advance our corporate area. How can we close the equation of what is innovation? To innovate, you need technology. We are in FEBRABAN Tech. There's no way not to talk about technology, but we also need another fundamental item, which are the people. We cannot have innovation without the people for the people. So it's about those people and how we can bring these people into the game that I will be talking about over the next few slides. I begin the story in 2017, where I began to work with innovation, with efforts in corporate innovation happening in the bank. And I'd like to talk about the personal perspective when I get involved in the corporate innovation. 2017 was a very interesting year. We had a boom of the fintech. We were discussing how they would impact the financial market, how we could deal with the fintechs. The financial sector began to react. I think it's about when Itaú Cubo was created, and we began to have the high automation and involvement of the banks with the startup. And I took a holiday, a vacation, and went to the Silicon Valley to see what was happening. Our bank back then began a program, an internal program for innovation with courses trying to engage all employees on the subject of innovation. The idea was that each employee could organize in a group and suggest an idea for innovation that could become a project or not. Our hypothesis back then was that our employees were innovators and they were intraempreneurials. Many people believed in that. We got sponsorship to test. More than 400 employees took part in this project, presenting ideas, and they presented more than 300 ideas. From this program, we had many actions that were born. One of them was mentioned in our previous project, BNDES Garage, and another one was match funding during the pandemic, that saving lives, that was very important, and the other is our blockchain lab. It exists so far. But then we had 400 people and more than 300 ideas. How can we turn those ideas into innovations that will generate value? That was the question that we were trying to answer. And then the technological area decided to invest in the creation of the digital innovation management that was created as an MVP for innovation within the IT department. IDG is a structure between the four pillars: entrepreneurs, innovation with a committee of innovation, the follow-up of projects and results. And I will talk a little bit about what we've been doing in each of these pillars. Intraempreneurship begins with us getting the ideas from the employees, from the tech department, so that they can become ideas to us. And I give two examples that we got the ideas in different ways. The first one was a challenge to the IT, that we gathered issues with the area, with managers of the area, and challenged all the employees of that department to find ideas and projects. And the other was the 365 marathon, so where we went from the problem to the solution. And the other way to get ideas was the idea 365, where we went from the solution to the problem. We were implementing Office 365, a tool with more than 30 tools involved in this implementation. We had a number of workshops with the employees so they could understand the solutions and to think about how these solutions could solve problems from the IT department, so that they suggested things on how to suggest those issues, and some of these ideas became projects. Then after one of worker alone or in a group suggests an idea that could become a project, is presented to our IT department, which includes executives of the departments, and that they discuss how much they will allocate to the project, and they choose to invest in a project or another. The committee also gives guidance to these projects and defines the next steps. The idea is that the committee is a partner of the intra-entrepreneurs. Then, after the committee decides to invest in this or that solution and it becomes a project, we have the follow-up of the project during its life, how it's working, and such sort of as an incubator. We give support with methods and intra-entrepreneur support for connection with the business areas and methods with designer thinking, and so that those solutions, the proposal for solution, actually solve the issues that they generated that proposal. It's not enough to get ideas and create projects, invest in them, and give them follow-up. We have to acknowledge these intra-entrepreneurs, because one of the results of the process is exactly this, to encourage intra-entrepreneurship and make sure that innovation be part of our daily life more and more. So we do this in a number of ways. We do demo days, similar to what is done in the world of startups. We evolve to a more playful format. So we have an Oscar for innovation with the whole themes related to movies. This event was very cool. People used to say that they want to innovate again just to get the Oscar the year after. And now, to try that this not become a yearly event, we created the Golden Cup, which happens every 3 months. So the projects get acknowledgement. Something interesting about this is that this acknowledgement doesn't happens only for projects that are chosen and encouraged by the committee. They happen for projects that are nominated by colleagues. It's almost as part of the workers are part of the Oscar Academy, and they nominate projects that deserve to be recognized. And so they get recognition from the leaders and from the peers, and encourage them to go into these projects for entrepreneurship and innovation.
And we run this process for 3 years. We stopped to conduct an evaluation of the results. We say it's innovation portfolio. The idea is that several projects will not succeed and others will succeed, but the portfolio has to be positive. We built this portfolio of several projects, and we need time and investment. And within 3 years, we stopped to evaluate, and we are able to arrive in this result. This project that some were discarded, others were not, but those that entered the portfolio, 46% of them are being used, which is a high result compared to other companies. And 30% of IT people have participated in projects. So it shows that people, they are engaged in the intra-entrepreneurship. So as I mentioned, we collect ideas, we invest, monitor, analyze the results, but we need to foster the process. People need to be immersed in environments that generate an encouragement for the ideas to emerge and become project. We had an action that's called Digital Coffee that since 2022 until now we had 56 digital coffees or coffee breaks with many participants, which is very high attendance. And we bring related topics to technology and innovation, but not only that, we want these events, short events that last 30 days, we want these events to encourage people to have new ideas, to be more innovative in their projects. So the people like these events, and we change the topics. It is an example of the three coffees that were most widely seen. It goes from AI up to happiness. So the topics are very comprehensive, but the participation has been very high, and the return by the attendees has been very good. But nobody's an island. I want to be there by myself, talking to Wilson, work only in entrepreneurship, and looking at our interacting with our internal team or employees. And then we started studying ways of making feasible this open innovation. And one of the projects that was proposed by some of the bank's employees, they proposed to launch a bidding process to solve a specific problem of the bank. It's innovation, circularity, innovation feeding innovation. But it's important to say which is a CPFE. SE, it's a public contract of innovative solution. It's a tool that was made available as of a law enacted in 2020 and is considered the legal framework of startup and entrepreneurial innovation. So the government has launched about 90 CPSI. That is, it's beginning to be used. And there are two important things to be highlighted about this law. The first one, it has a change in the paradigm on how the public administration hires by defining a solution, specifying in details how this solution should be. And this creates a situation where we spend a lot of time writing the specifications. Sometimes when they arrive on the market, they do not meet what has been specified. With the CPSI, we reverse the game. We define our problem very well and present this problem to the market so that the market can propose a solution. More than a solution can solve the problem. So then we create a more competitive environment and where the entrepreneur can propose solutions. We create an environment where co-creation is possible between the government and the companies. Although the CPSI does not limit the participating company, it does not need to be necessarily a startup. Usually, the companies that bring a solution are usually startups. And another relevant point is that CPSI comes from a law that seeks to encourage the innovative entrepreneurship. It's not to go to market to solve all your problems. You want that provider that is solving your problem can also solve the problem of other institutions and sell its solution to other institutions. And then we have invested late last year in the creation of the Risks Act, which was this first CPSI from BNDES. The idea was to bring an innovator for the social, environment, and climate solution. And here, an explanation. The central bank some time ago launched a regulation about the social, environmental, and climate risk that institutions have to follow and to have a solution that solves the social, environment, and climate problem. It's an issue that affects not only BNDES, but the financial sector as a whole. The solution that would win this context is going to have a proof of concept with us, improve its solution together with BNDES, but it's going to have the potential of connecting with other institutions. So we have already had the process, 30 startups registered, 7 went to the final, 1 was selected, and we are in the process of signing a contract with a selected startup. We have talked to them and their perspectives that they will improve their solution and could build together with BNDES, and that solution will be more robust and scalable so that they can have more clients than they have today. And the takeaways we had during this journey. First, we have problems in defining very well the problem. It's a human trend. It's not only the public sector. When we try to define our problem, we end up trying to define the solution together. So we needed to invest in a solution to arrive at a conclusion to see what would be the problem that should be in the invitation to bid. And the other takeaway was to connect with startups. It's not an easy task. We a more traditional bank, and we had to make an effort to speak the same language as the startups. And the next CPSI we are going to have, we understood that we should try to use the garage as a way of disseminating and get closer to startups. But this is an issue that we face, and the majority of the large banks also face. But so far, we have managed to overcome the problems and advance the process. And I hope that within a year, we are going to have a solution implemented in the bank and have other CPSIs. Now, talking about digital innovation, I began by saying that innovation has some components that were part of this equation. We had the technology. We understood that people are very important in this equation, and we have to invest in people. But along the way, we understood that to close this equation, we need to invest mainly in management. The manager will be able to prioritize, and that will help people to use technology in order to generate innovation. So this is the pathway we are pursuing, improve the management of digital innovation. As I said in the beginning, and how the MVP escalates, how we can advance by expanding this process to other areas in the bank, advancing internally, but we can advance outside the bank with other challenges that connect with other startups, and we can expand by tapping into other forms of connection with the startups. Because for innovation, as my friend but my Thier said, is always is to go high and ahead, forward. As I said, you have my LinkedIn who wants to learn more about this whole process. Thank you.